Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of the Wading Culture Vlogcast. Today we're actually going to take a little bit of a look at them skates. Now, I've ridden these a couple of times now, 4 times I think. 2 big sessions and 2 little sessions, I guess. And I'm sold. I am sold. 100% sold. Now, those of you who know me know that I ride Velos mostly in a UK 9. So I bought them skates in an 8/9, the medium shaft. Now, when I first bought these, they didn't fit. Not because they were too small, in my opinion. This is just my opinion, guys. It's because the liner is so thick, so padded on the inside and on the heel that honestly, it just needed breaking in. I'll show you a little bit about what I'm talking about. So the them liner, pretty standard. You've got this little flappy bit at the back, really good. We'll talk about that in a moment. But otherwise, it's really just your standard generic liner. It's no better or worse than the Velo liners that you get. There's a bit more flex in it. You've got this cross-stitched area on the toe. You can kind of pick that away if you need a bit more space. But actually I found just breaking them in is all that they really need. So underneath the liner section here, I don't know if you can see because of the light, you have this cuffed area for your ankle bone essentially. And once you've worn it in, down the sides of the liner and down the back section of the liner, because it's quite thick. Once you've worn it in, you've been for a good session, they fit me perfect. Perfect. Really solid, really consistent liner, there's very little movement. The reason that there's so much padding in this liner is so that once you've been out skating, they fit really well. Now the liner is a bit of a pain to get over, but once it's on, it doesn't move, it never comes off the side of the cuff at all. So it's a really good idea, I like what they've done. There we go. So after 1 or 2 sessions, let's talk about some of the issues that I've found. The cuff bolts, always coming undone. I'm going to try and paint them and then rethread them. Hopefully that'll stop them from coming out. And also, I don't know if you can see very well, where the buckle protector is, that's great, but there's a little lip where it just doesn't hold itself properly. So it's actually starting to tear away this whole top section of the liner already, which is nothing. I've fallen maybe once or twice on these skates. One fall on the cuff side has ripped all this liner apart. So that's frustrating, and I may look into what I can do about that. I may go for an aftermarket liner eventually, but for the moment it's fine. So again, if you're in the top size of these skates, if you're in the upper region of boot sizes, so if you're buying the medium shell and you're a 9, it might just be too tight. I'm an 8.5 and the 9 was a little bit too tight at first. I have become accustomed to it, so that's just worth considering. If you're in the upper end of the boot shell size, you might not fit with the standard them liner. You may have to just go for an aftermarket. There's nothing you can do. The MyFit liners are all pretty good. Even the Velo liners, standard stock Velo liners, work really well in the them skates. My setup consists of, so far, black boot, white soles. I got some Kaiser Fluid 3s. It's all I could find in white at my house. And then my red slicks anti-rockers, always. I've now got the Yin Yang wheels. Shout out to Lade and Lewis Joxel for hooking me up with these. Wicked skates. Let's talk about the lacing system, because this is key here, the lacing system. Now, since the first pictures of these, John went out of his way to put in an extra eyelet at the top. That really does make such a difference. You can really use it to pull yourself into the boot. And what that actually does is, so you've got this soft top section here with these gaps between the eyelets. That allows you to move each of these eyelets separately. So if you've got pressure down one side of your foot, you can compensate that when you lace up. You don't have to worry about it anymore. My dead spots from my Velos are gone with them. So that's great. So you can control a lot of the pressure on the top section of your foot. But using the eyelets properly will make all the difference. So this top liner here, there's a reason for it. And that is, when you pull down on this top eyelet, it pulls you in this way, to the bottom of the boot. So you've got the top section of the liner which puts a little bit of pressure on the top of your foot rather than on the sides of your foot, which is also good. You don't want to be pulling the boot inwards to try and get that pressure. You just want a little bit of down pressure on the top of the foot. Keeps you locked to the bottom of the skate. Well, that's great. But most liners have this issue where they slide before your foot does. No liner can, avoid it perfectly because the boot sizes change from different shell to different shell. So, finding a good compromise there is always going to be difficult. But this top eyelet, honest to God, it locks me in. Right down here, my heel is always where it should be. There's no slide. I don't move before my skate does. So it feels really solid. It feels really compact. Like, I don't know. It's not like my Velos. It is and it isn't. It's like my Velos in some aspects of the skate, like how it feels when I'm rolling. It kind of feels like I'm on a cross between a Velo boot and an SL boot because it's a bit wider, but it's also still got this narrow back section here, narrow around the right points, but with a bit more toe space. So I could downsize boot sizes, I think, maybe. We'll soon find out. I'm possibly going to be looking into getting another set in the small shell, and then maybe see if I can downsize into the small boot. But they don't look boaty, in my opinion. Maybe the camera might be misleading, but they're great fun, honest to God, guys. A lot of fun. So different to anything else that's on the market right now, but also very similar to everything else that's on the market right now. So with them skates, you're really not buying anything tacky at all. There really is a lot of thought gone into each aspect, including things like the extra eyelets and the cuff protector and the buckle system. That does stop the buckle from catching. It does. It's got a weird countersunk thing going on. Same sort of thing for the buckle on the other side. You've got the protection, but the protection seems to come from the liner, unfortunately, and not so much this, because the buckle hangs out right out over it, which means that the top section of my liner is catching. It's frustrating. I don't know how I'm going to proceed with that, but such is life. So it's a raised heel boot. There's no shock absorber. There is a footbed. It's kind of nice. I've been doing some gaps in them. Not noticed anything untoward. I've got these frames on these really solid, thick frames, and they've not added that much weight to the skate. I think they're probably about 5 grams heavier than my Velos in a full setup, so it's nothing. Absolutely nothing. What's a few grams? The backslide groove. The backslide groove is something else. It is something else. Now, obviously I'm on the other boot. This is the left boot. The right boot, I've started to dig in my own little groove now. It does happen quite quickly. When you first get these skates, you might feel a little bit weirded out by this tiny little groove, but in all fairness, it's perfect. It's perfectly placed. So within a couple of sessions, you're automatically going to get new grooves. You're going to start digging in with your skates and start grinding. You're going to get these new grooves that fit in with your frames. Now, these frames have been skated for about 5 years by myself, so they've already got my old grooves in them. So it's been a bit weird going back to the old groove system, because my grinds have changed a lot in the last 5-6 years. So going back to an old groove is weird. Such is life. Look at my hair going. Yo. It's wild. So overall, I'm going to give them a 9 out of 10. And the only reason for the lack of a 10 out of 10 is just because within 3 sessions I've already ripped the liner apart. And I haven't done that. That's just from a lack of protection there. You can just slide right up the boot, right up the liner. And it's unfortunately started to rip and tear. The cuff is great. The liner system, the way that that flap holds you into the cuff is amazing. There's very little in terms of, you don't feel the liner move before the cuff does. If you remember the old I don't know, Chas and 2s, they definitely had it. Rob Thompson 2s, I think, had it. Where the Salomon boot would have a hole in the back of the cuff and you could screw the liner on the inside to the cuff from the outside. So none of this, but it had the same principle. It was held in place by the cuff, or the liner held the cuff in place. That seems to be the case with the Velos, with the them. I'm so used to saying Velo, it's just not happening, is it? It's the same for them. The liner really holds this cuff in place, but it also moves the cuff. So there's a lot of flex that way, a lot of flex that way. There's some flex to the side, so it's really good middle ground. Kind of like an SL. If Velo and SLs had a baby, this is what you would get. Because it's wide like an SL boot, but it skates like a Velo. These sole plates are really fast. Kind of like the old Nim plate, or the old Velo two-piece sole plate, in terms of, in terms of its width. The rockers look amazing. Shout out to Elliot Boyers for the ground wheels, man. But honestly, the sole plates, they're no different to any of the other sole plates I've skated. They skate exactly the same. If not, a little bit better, because the skate's really solid and the liner's held in place. When you hit a grind, it just goes. It just goes. I've not noticed so much until yesterday. I went to a park in Euxton, which is like 30 minutes from me. And they were pretty consistent. I had to wax some stuff up, but most of it was just sliding anyway. I don't know if someone's been up and waxed the day before and it's still there, or if the sole plates really are as good as I want them to be. But I've not downgraded at all. I do feel like I've upgraded from my Velos when I've gone into them. I do feel like I've upgraded because they're so much more solid and very consistent. When I was skating my Velos, some days they would feel different. If my foot was off, or if I was having a bad moment with my right foot, I would have a dead spot. But that was inconsistent. I couldn't plan around the dead spot. I couldn't plan around it. I don't get it at all with this skate. So 9 out of 10. Again, it would have been 10 out of 10 if the liner hadn't ripped within 4 hours. But do you know what I mean? These are those things. So in terms of buying some of them skates, they are actually, as far as I'm concerned, one of the cheapest ways into a pretty good boot selection. Like, if you think about how much your average SL boot is now, and the Shift 2s, you're pushing £400 for some of these setups. Them skates, 155 from Loco Skates. 155, and they look flying. Anyone that says they're blind, look at them. They are fit. I love the lines. I love them on the back of the inverted, but such is life. Do you know what I mean? This aesthetic put me off at first. It did. I'm not gonna lie. There was a few of us. Anyone, you know what I mean? A few of us that got put off by the lines and the curves, the aesthetics of it, I suppose. But honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's great. I think it's something we've not seen for a long time. We haven't. The last boot that used this mould died with Decathlon. So yeah, honestly, really very, very cool. I got some clips, as you've seen. Only bits and bobs. I've not really had much time to go out and have a really good session. I may be able to get out today, but we'll see. Just given thunderstorms all day, we've had like better part of 6 weeks of like 28 degrees in the UK. It's been lovely. So we've been able to get some skating in. I've obviously got Battle My Crew coming up, so I'm happy to be on a new boot for Battle My Crew. I hope you're all getting involved, by the way. Stay tuned later this week. We're going to have the rest of the podcast up to talk about Battle My Crew. I hope you've all enjoyed the first vlogcast. I know there's nothing much to it, it's just me talking about them. But 9 out of 10, guys. They're sole plate hardware, same as the Velo hardware. One bolt size though, so you're not mixing between different Allen keys, so it's all one. Everything on the skate comes apart with size 4 Allen key. Everything. Cuffs, screws for the buckles, but they look pretty solid. I've not noticed. I've taken them apart. I've not noticed any issues with rivets spinning in the plastic. So everything seems to be held into the sole plate really well. Yeah, get some, guys. Why not? Support the industry. Support John Julio. He's not come in and gone, that one will do, and we'll just fix it for the next boot. Like, he's put on a lot of effort to get this boot right, and I think he's done the right thing with it. Honestly, the boot, he's left it. I like that. Obviously, with the extra eyelid. He's removed the lacing protection. I think that's cool too. Gives this smooth, kind of flat, flush finish to the boot. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Buckle, really good, always. This is the first, I guess, springy buckle that we've seen for a while from John, because obviously we've working with Rosys on the Velos. So now he's come in and done his own thing, and congrats, man, honestly, really happy with the skate. I've been out for a few sessions now, and no pressure points, no pain, no problems. If you buy them from Loco and they do not fit, there's a little slip, you'll get it. It's a free size swap, so you can go up the next shell size, but then you're going to have to compensate for that. If you buy them and you're at the top end, so if you're the 8 or you're the 9 or you're the 11, you might have to again get a downsize with an aftermarket liner. But that's okay, that's doable. It's just going to be another expense. So maybe in the next ones, they'll maybe even add a 4th shell size. That'd be better, I think, in my opinion, and actually work better on a liner, because I don't think this liner is true to size. I really don't, because I'm an 8.5 and I can't fit in this 9 straight out of the bat. I've had to wear it in and work it, but now you know, I've got plenty of room. My feet are never going to grow again. If anything, they've just gotten smaller over the years, you know, from cramming my feet into skates that don't fit. So I'm happy, really happy with this skate, guys, really happy. I want to hear your feedback, always. So leave it in the comment below, leave us a like if you like the video, leave us a dislike if you don't. I know the podcast is my thing, but I felt like giving a bit of a video for these, you know, get some of them angles in, guys, some of them angles. So, what's up next? I've got some of them new 50/50 frames coming, and we're getting the white ones, so we're going to be talking a little bit about those. I used to ride the 50/50s back in the day, so it's really interesting to be able to do it in 2018 and have a new set of 50/50s with the juice box as well, so I'm excited to see that. Excited to play on those, so we'll get some clips in those. I'm going to go out today and try and get some more clips in these. Until then, peace.